Hello, everyone. We are back. My name is Sharon C. Jenkins, and you have tuned in to the 40 Plus and Flirty Holiday Dating Summit. And we are having fun today. We have some fabulous speakers, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome April Nolan. Yay!
Thank you for having me, Sharon. It's an honor to be here.
I am honored to have you. So, listening and viewing audience, her topic is From Broken to Open, Making Space for Love After Divorce. And let me tell you a few things about her. She helps people thrive in love, life, and work relationships. And that's a broad spectrum, April. And I am just so very encouraged to meet you. This is huge. She's a certified relationship coach and divorce recovery expert with over 10 years of experience. She walks alongside individuals and couples as they navigate life's transitions with courage and grace. Welcome again, April.
Thank you.
So, we're going to talk about your personal journey and transformation. What does transformation mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we hear that word. I know I've heard it more and more in the wellness space, right? Transforming yourself. Everything is about transformation, but what does that really mean? And when I think about transformation, I think about just navigating life well, right? A lot of times when we hear the word transformation, we think that things are going to be super easy in the transformation, or that we're not going to feel any pain in the transformation. But the transformation itself, I think the goal is to make us into something better, right? When you think about a butterfly and you think about what it goes through in the transformation, that journey to becoming that beautiful butterfly is dark, it's lonely, right? You're probably like figuring out how much time is this going to take. But it's really trying to navigate life well, because we can't avoid transformation, right? We can't avoid it. It's going to happen to all of us. But how do we navigate it well?
Oh, that's good. So, how did your three divorces shape the way you view love, commitment, and your own emotional resilience?
Yeah. I'll say this. I'll start with the emotional resilience. One of the things that, so I've been divorced three times over the span of 20 years.
Mhm.
My first divorce, I was 21. My second divorce, I was 31. And my third divorce, I was 41. Notice a pattern,
Wow.
Sharon?
Yeah, 10 years.
Yes. And so the emotional part, I would say, um, just the fact that I survived them. So if anyone's listening who has gone through a divorce, you know that it is such a challenging time, right? I joke about this, but sometimes I say, I should be in a mental hospital, hospital,
Mhm.
or dead, seriously, because divorce is devastating. But what it taught me personally was that I'm stronger than I think,
Mhm.
right? When we think about love and commitment. So initially at 41, going through my third divorce, I just thought love isn't real, commitment is false. All these relationships, these healthy relationships or seemingly healthy relationships that we see, like everyone's lying. Like everyone is lying. Like this is not possible for any of us.
Mhm.
And you can imagine waking up at that age and thinking to yourself, I got it right this time, right? To find out, nope, I didn't. And so when I think about love and commitment, one of the things that I had to do was learn what those really are. And I'll tell you that most of us were not taught about healthy relationships growing up. We didn't learn about healthy love growing up. We may have seen versions of commitment growing up. And so, one of the things for me along that initial healing journey was just to learn what is real love? What does real commitment look like? Not what we see on social media, not what we see on TV, and a lot of times not what we see in our own families. And
Mhm.
so, that is what my journey was about, was really understanding love and commitment and emotional wellness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, what a topic. April, I need to be transparent with you. I hate divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, hate is a strong word, but I mean every letter of that word. Oh, well, okay, let's move on. Healing after divorce.
Yeah.
Okay, many people try to move on without actually healing.
Mhm.
How do you define true emotional healing after divorce?
Yeah. I'll say this too, Sharon. I hate divorce. And people that I encounter go, but you did it 3 times. Yes, I know. I am pro marriage, which is why I do the work that I do now. And not even pro marriage so much as pro healthy relationships. Now, I believe in marriage. I want that. I want the healthy relationship. But I believe that divorce is a death. It's not a death sentence, but it is a death.
Mhm.
And so when I think about the mindset after divorce, it is almost this mindset of resurrection, of coming alive, of self discovery. So, one of the things that I did, and when I talk about my healing journey, that's after the third divorce because I didn't heal before.
Mm,
I covered it up. I pretended like it didn't happen. I have this saying that when things don't hurt anymore, we think we're healed, and we're
mm,
not. And
mm,
so that is literally what would happen was after each divorce, I would walk through a period of mourning and sadness and all the things. But I was a person that thought, I don't feel it anymore. I'm not necessarily mad at him anymore. I'm good. And I wasn't. And so when I think about true healing, it is like having a tree that's dying. And what we do over the years is we may cut off some branches, the leaves may fall off, and we may feel like, oh, that tree is fine. The
mhm.
problem, though, is that the roots of that tree is affecting every area of our lives.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, for true healing, we have to uproot the tree first, and then we need to plant something healthy there. And so that's what that journey looks like. Like when I talk to people, I can tell if you're healed by the
Mm,
type of tree that you are, right? And we talk about, we know a tree by the fruit, right?
mhm,
If I
mhm,
listen to the fruit of your life, what are you doing emotionally, financially, physically? How are you relating in dating situations? How are you relating with yourself?
mhm,
Those are clear indications. Do you have healthy boundaries?
mhm.
Those are clear indications of where you are on the healing journey.
Oh, that is huge. That's huge. Okay, what practical first step can someone take when they feel stuck in grief, shame, condemnation, loneliness after the divorce is over?
Yeah. I hear people say, I don't know what to do. And I'm
Mm,
sure you've heard it. And that's with various situations, whether that's our health, our relationships, right? Our finances. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And you're right. You probably don't know what to do. And so I encourage getting in the right community. Now, what does that look like? Right. And this is what I've had to walk through, with my clients walk through, but it is about surrounding yourself with a community that is going to fuel your healing. Because you're absolutely right. When I woke up at 41 years old, I didn't know what I know now at almost 49 years old about relationships, right? I just knew that for whatever reason, this wasn't working. And I was the person that had the great career. I had traveled to multiple countries. I had built 3 homes. I had traveled around the United, like I had done all the things, but this. And I had to be honest and say, I don't know what to do. And
mhm,
so, what does that look like? That is what I call having a circle of care. That might be family, that you can go cry with. That might be your best friend, but that also might be a therapist, a coach, your pastor. I tell
Mm.
people this all the time. Your pastor isn't a therapist. And if he is, he shouldn't be your therapist, right? Your mom
Oh,
shouldn't be
that's
your therapist,
good. That is good advice.
right? And so
Oh.
most of us will need personal community and professional. And let me say this, it's going to cost you to heal. Healing cost. And that might mean paying for help. That might mean costing in time and energy, but it's going to cost you something to heal. But when you're in that place and that question, what I love about it is when you said stuck, it is okay to grieve. It is okay to feel the emotions of shame and loneliness and condemnation. It is when we get stuck is when it becomes dangerous. And that's when we move into things like isolation, right? Solitude is healthy. Taking some
Mhm.
time. I'm a napper. My friends know between a certain time, don't call me. I'm not going to answer. I'm going to be napping, right? Solitude is healthy and safe. Isolation is when we're making the conscious decision to push everybody away. And that's when it becomes dangerous. So it's okay if you're feeling those feelings, but don't
Mhm.
get stuck. Don't stay alone in them.
Mhm. Oh, that's huge. That's huge. So, let's talk a little bit about identity and soul work. Now, I want you to define soul work.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we think about our soul in the holistic way, right? Our mind, our will, and our emotions, it is really taking care of the entire person in a lot of cases, especially after what I call heartbreak. So that might be divorce, that may be the loss of a spouse, and that may be someone who was just getting out of a long term relationship, even though you weren't married, right? But it is taking care of yourself completely. And that might be physical. Um, Going through this last divorce, I had had a very physical response to it
Mm.
through gaining weight. I had become ill, stress, my body, my physical body was suffering. And so it may mean taking care of your physical self, your emotional self. So once again, that might be therapy or counseling or some way for you to, let the volcano explode and regulate your emotions. And then spiritually, right? I'll tell you, Sharon, I was mad at God this third time around. And I have been in ministry 20 years. At the time, I was working at a church. I was the person that you lined up for in the prayer line, and I was praying for your marriage and your family and all the things. And I woke up after that divorce and I was like, God, I don't want to ever talk to you again.
Mm.
And I would have people who would say, I'm praying for you. Don't pray for me. Like, don't know.
Mm.
Now, me and God had a come to Jesus moment. But it's when I think about soul care, it's really taking care of the whole person, not just one aspect.
I'm glad you brought up the anger that
Mhm.
we experience, not just with ourselves, not just with our ex partner, but with God, because a lot of times we've done the prep work, the prayer, the fasting, the laying out on the floor. I call it carpet time. We've
Yes.
done all of that stuff with the expectation that God
Mhm.
would move on our behalf. And when He doesn't move the way we want Him to move,
Mhm.
I've experienced that anger before. So I'm so glad that you shared that. And I love the fact that He waits for us. Just like with the prodigal son, he waits for us. And the minute we step in his direction, he comes running.
Yes. Yes. I'll share my kind of encounter that I had with that revelation. So I live in Arizona, and so it is beautiful almost year. Well, okay, it's not beautiful in the summer. It's sweltering hot, but right now it's 70 degrees and great. But I was out walking one morning and I was telling God, right? I'm mad at you and I don't want to talk to you. Right. Like this is how I talk to God. And he said, April, he said, you need to move the finish line. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And what he showed me was God has an intended end for every area of our life, whether it's our finances, our health, our relationship. Like he's got an end in mind. But because of life and circumstances and decision, we have gone off of that path. We've moved his finish line. And so that's, to your point, it was such a revelation, not that he was saying blaming, right? But it was just like, but April, I've got this great end for you. And what I believe he was saying in that moment is, but you're going to have to do the work. So, like you said, I believe that God could snap his fingers and fix every problem we have, but we
Mhm.
are not going to learn. And there's got to be lessons in the transition, right? If we're going to learn and grow. And so, as I looked back over my dating seasons, my first husband, God told me not to marry him. And I was in an audible voice. He was like, don't do this. And I was like, fine, it's good. We're good. It'll be fine. My second husband, God sent his mom and she took me to lunch and she was like, my son's not a bad person, but he's not ready. And you know what I did? It'll be fine. We're in love. It's fine. So this third time, I was like, God, you didn't stop this. And we
Mhm.
had gone to counseling. We had done all the things. And God said, I tried to stop you the first two times and you didn't want to listen. And I was like, right? And it was the third time that hurt the most. It was the third time that was the most devastating. And it was the third time that I woke up and I felt like God was saying, like we do with our kids, are you done yet? You
Mhm.
done? You're done doing it on your own?
Mhm.
And so you're right. Just that never ending love. And even like when we go back to the transitions, even in that dark space in the cocoon, God is like, I got you. I
Mhm.
got you. So, yeah.
That's a great feeling. And I think one of the beautiful things about divorce is the fact that you get to start all over again. Not only do you get to start all over again, but you get to walk in your authenticity, who
Yes.
you really are, not who you had to marginalize or what
Mm-hmm.
you had to do to reshape yourself to be a part of a person's life who didn't fit God's paradigm for your life, you know. So
Yeah.
oh, Miss April. So from your journey, what have you learned about choosing partners from a healed place versus a hurting place?
Yeah. When we make choices from a place of pain, it is always the wrong choice because what we're doing is we're trying to relieve the pain. So instead of choosing a person that is going to enhance your life, choosing a person that is going to grow with you, walk in purpose with you, be a partner, be a friend, what we're doing is we say, I've got this void, whether it's loneliness or rejection or abandonment, right? We've got these voids and we're just trying to fill the hole. It reminds me of so like I said, most of my, I've owned several homes and they were all new builds, so I got to watch the building process happen.
Mm.
And imagine you got a house and you got this crack in the wall, and I'm going to fix the crack. So you plaster up the crack, paint over it, it looks beautiful. But man, I've got another crack in the wall a month later. So you plaster over that crack, looks beautiful. But a month later, you have another crack in the wall. At some point, we have to go and find out, why does the wall keep cracking? And in many cases, when that happens in the house, it's something wrong with your foundation.
Ooh.
And so when we date from a place of pain, what we're
Mhm.
saying is that I don't have a sturdy foundation. So this relationship might look pretty for a moment, but those cracks in the walls are going to keep showing up. And if we don't deal with the cracks in the walls, eventually that house is going to fall down. And
Mm.
that is what happens when we date when we're not healed. We built this house with someone. with a shaky foundation, and then we can't understand why the house is crumbling.
Mm. And I think we, in that kind of situation, we think more highly of ourselves than we ought. We think that we are the repairer of
Yes.
men, or the change agent, or the catalyst, or there's something about us
Mm-hmm.
that will change that individual. The love, the love that I'm giving, whatever I'm packaged in, is going to make the difference in that person's life. Ooh,
Yeah.
April, you got me thinking over here. What are signs that someone is ready or not ready to date again?
Yeah. One of the biggest signs is our ability to set and maintain boundaries. And this is not just boundaries with other people, it's boundaries with ourselves, right? So
Mhm.
I've heard it like this: boundaries teach people how to treat us, they teach us how to treat us, right? And so when we don't have healthy boundaries around our physical, our mental, and emotional, that tells me you're not ready for a relationship. I got a voice memo from someone literally 2 days ago,
Mhm.
and she had texted me saying she was getting married in a few months. And I was like, yeah, exciting. And in her voice memo, she said, I took your dating class. So I have a dating class that used to be called Dating with Confidence. It's now Becoming the One. And she took it 3 or 4 years ago. And she was like, the one thing that I took away immediately from that dating class was that I wasn't ready.
Mhm.
Because I talk about what does it feel like to be ready? What does your life look like? We talk about making space, right? Do you have the emotional space? Do you have the physical space? Do you have the financial space to be dating? And so she said, because of that class, it caused her to pause and continue to work on herself. And now she's getting married in a few weeks. And let me
Oh,
say this, like, the healing goal isn't a new boo, it's a new you. Okay.
I like that. Ooh.
However, if you desire that relationship down the line, I'm a champion for you. So, our boundaries, what does that look like? One, we have to clarify our boundaries. And a big part of that is writing them down. I don't know
Mhm.
about you. I go to the grocery store with a list in my head and I forget everything on it, right? So,
Ditto.
right, we all do. So, we have to get clear on what that boundary is. The second thing is that we have to communicate our boundary. So in many cases, we'll say, well, my behavior was this, but they still violated the boundary. Did you actually communicate the boundary? That
Mhm.
is when I work with people who are in their dating season, and they'll say things like, well, I told him that I was no longer interested, but you pick up the phone when he calls and you answer his text when he texts you. So what you're saying is, I'm still available to you because you
Mhm.
have not communicated that boundary, and then you have not upheld that boundary. And
Mhm.
that's the hardest part, right? Is that when we uphold our boundaries, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes that means we lose relationship. Sometimes that means we're going to be lonely because I have a boundary that I'm not dating a certain type of person, right? So that is where our boundaries get challenging, is when we have to uphold them, when we have to stand up for ourselves.
Oh, that is rich. So, how can people avoid repeating old relationships patterns? I'll say it again. How can we avoid repeating old relationship patterns?
Yeah, I think it's two things. The first one is self-discovery, right? We talk about our identities, particularly as women. When we get into relationships, our identities begin to shift. They become very blurry, right? Um, but it's understanding who we are. When you know who you know what you will tolerate, right?
Mhm.
If I know that I'm a person who is peaceful, who is drama free, I don't tolerate drama. It, right? So I think the first thing is going on a journey of self-discovery. Part of what that looks like is understanding how I ended up in the relationships that I was in. I speak in like pictures because that's how like I see it, right? But
Mhm.
I equate it to you're out walking somewhere and you keep tripping over this spot in the sidewalk. But you keep walking and you keep tripping, you keep walking and you keep tripping. At some point, you have to look down and say, what do I keep tripping on? What keeps tripping me up? Part of that could be things stemming back from our childhood. When I went to therapy at 41, the first question she asked me was, tell me about your childhood. And I looked at her and I said, this has nothing to do with my childhood. I just keep getting divorced. And she was like, yeah, tell me about your childhood. And what I didn't realize, and studies have shown that our makeup is ingrained in us by the time we're like 5 or 6, right? So things that have happened to us in our childhood will begin to shape every decision, every relationship that we have going forward. So that journey of self discovery is first, who did God make me to be? So let's start there, right? You want to know how something is made? Ask the maker. Who am I? And that was even things like I would make a list of stuff that just sounded good and then I'd try them, right? One of them was kayaking. And I was like, I love this. There were other things, knitting. This is terrible, right? Golf. This sucks. So it was understanding who April was. And that is without me as a mom, as an ex-wife, as a daughter, who is April?
Mhm.
So that's the first thing. The second thing goes back to having community, right? Um, at almost 49 at the time of this recording, and I'm single and I date and things like that, I still have a few folks in my corner that if I get into a relationship, I can go to them and they can say, oh man, I'm seeing this pattern again, April. Like, I'm listening to the words that you're saying. Or you
Mhm.
said you wanted, this type of man, but this guy is really, this type of guy. And so I have given them the permission to kind of slap me out of the fog, when I'm like, oh, that, and maybe like, hold on,
Little
right?
butterflies are
Yes,
flying around
right.
your head.
And so I have that trusted community that is allowed, I say this, allowed to tell me the truth in love. Even if I don't want to hear it, they can say, hey, I'm seeing these things, right? And that's not everybody. And this is why, if you follow me on social media, yes, I date on occasion. You don't see that on there because I guard my heart, right? And so there's a small group of people that I have trusted to say, I'm uncertain about this relationship, and they'll say, okay, let's take a look from the outside and let's
Mhm.
see what's going on. And so I think those are the best ways.
I agree because how old was I? Almost 30. And I went to a therapist, a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't figure out why in the world was I attracting this kind of man, all in the
Mm-hmm.
same type, the
Yep.
same MO. I mean,
Yep.
and I told her, and the question about your childhood came up. And
Mm-hmm.
so I realized that because I came from a family of alcoholics,
Mm-hmm.
that when I walked into a bar or a club, it was like those kind of men were drawn to me
Yep.
because of my foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And when she told me that, I was like, ooh, we need to change this, baby. How
Mm-hmm.
do we change it? And we change it by, wow, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Mine was similar. I tell people that I married the same man 3 times, meaning different name, right? Different person, but exact same characteristics. And with me, I was the fixer growing up. My biological mother was a drug addict. And
Mhm.
from a very young age, I was responsible for her and then my sister. So I was always responsible for someone. And I always had this um, hope, right? That like one day my mom's going to change, one day, you know, these things are going to happen. And so I realized that I went into relationships with people that one needed fixing and that I would see the potential, right? And so the problem is that I saw the potential and they didn't. They didn't want it. But you're absolutely right. And I had to realize I was drawn to that type of man because that is what I grew up doing and knowing. So you're absolutely right. A lot of times when we start to find ourselves in these cycles, in these patterns, I guarantee you, whether it's our childhood, young adult years, we can trace it back to something, some
Mhm.
behavior, some environment, some culture that we were in.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Last question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What advice do you give people who fear they miss their chance at lasting love?
Mm-mm-mm. The first thing that I would tell you is one, give yourself some grace in the sense that when we feel like we are undeserving, and that's what it comes down to, right? We have this feeling of I don't deserve love. A lot of times, where that thinking comes from is we are punishing ourselves
Mm,
for our past mistakes. And
mm,
when I find that people have that thinking, it's too late for me, it's not necessarily that you're thinking it's too late, you're thinking you don't deserve it. And
mm,
so the first thing that we do going on that journey of self discovery, part of that is self forgiveness. We talk a lot about forgiving the person that hurt us. We don't talk enough about forgiving ourselves for our stupid decisions. So that's the first thing is give yourself some grace. You are human. We talked about why we make decisions. I guarantee you there was a reason why you picked certain relationships and you allowed certain things to happen to you, right? So self discovery, self love, right? That opens the door for our forgiveness is learning to love yourself, learning to love all your flaws and all of your bad decisions like this. Everything that I've done up until literally the moment we're talking shaped me into the person I am. And I'm pretty amazing. So um,
yes, I agree. Me too.
yes, yes. And then the second thing that I would say is everybody deserves a great love story. And that love story could mean a romantic partner. That love story could mean loving yourself beyond what you could even imagine, right? But I do believe for those of you who desire a healthy, mind blowing relationship, that you deserve it. I have coached people in their 70s that have found love. I have
Mm,
coached people in their 50s that have found love again, right? It is, if it is your desire, then it's never too late. And I would say continue to work on yourself, continue to place yourself in those healthy communities that are going to encourage you. I know that feeling. At 41, I told myself love was not for me. I
mm,
told myself that I must be unlovable if this keeps happening, right? But I know now, 8 years later, that I am worthy of love. God
mm,
designed me for love, to
mm,
be loved, but it starts with me loving myself.
mm. Oh, I love this conversation, April. This, oh boy, if I could write you a check for 1 million, I would. Because this is liberating for so many people who are lost in that brokenness, who define themselves by that
Mhm.
part or that season in their lives. So, any closing comments? Any advice? Any offers?
Yes, yes. So my closing advice, and we just said this, is just to remember that you were made for love
Mm,
regardless as to what you have gone through. And I've gone through some traumatic things in relationships. But one thing that I know is that I am designed for love. I'm created for love. And so are you. Offers connect with me on social media. on my website. Everything is under my name, April Nowlin. And what I want to offer the listeners here, I talked about different programs or workshops or coaching that I do. So I want to offer the listeners, anyone who listens to this video, you can get 15% off of any of my coaching packages with the code Flirty15. Just because I believe in the work that Sharon is doing, especially for those of us who are dating later in life, right? A lot of the dating advice, a lot of the resources, they're great for the 20-year-olds, right? But for
Yeah.
those of us in our 40s or 50s or 60s, a lot of times they just don't connect. And so I'll tell you that my resources are designed for those 40 and up. So those dating later in life, because I've been there. I know what you're going through. So once again, 15% off any of my coaching packages with the code Flirty15.
Well, April, this has been a wonderful experience, not just for our viewers, but also for me, and reaffirm some things and liberation and resurrection sometimes go hand in hand. You
Yes.
know, we get caught up in the process. Sometimes we're not really cognizant of the end result because we're so busy paying attention to the process. But I really believe, April, that what you do contributes to the overall well-being of an individual enough so they can look in the mirror again and say, I'm lovable and
Yes.
I deserve love.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I want to say thank you, April. I've had a great experience with you, and I hope you come back and see us again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again for having me, Sharon. And thank you for the work that you're doing. It's so needed.
Well, love has me here,
I love it.
and love will keep me here. I love to help people. I love for people to fall in love. And I love for them to find that unexpected jewel, when they find the courage and the strength and the confidence to pursue it.
Yeah.
Because ain't nothing like love, Love.
Ain't
What
nothing like love.
Well, viewers, I want to thank you for tuning in today. We have more to come. And I want you to know I love you and there ain't nothing you can do about it. All right. We'll be back with another speaker. Thanks again, April. You have been a blessing.